Good morning, church. We're going to spend 5 minutes with God together today. And out of the gate, I have a question for you. Did you ever get lost as a kid when you were out somewhere with your parents? So maybe you were at the grocery store or out shopping and you just wander away, or you'd get a sense of adventure, or you'd go exploring, and then you turn around and you realize that your parents aren't there anymore. Like, I know when I was a little kid, I liked to weave in and out of the store shelves or the racks of clothes when I was out shopping with my mom or my dad. But I always liked to know where my parents were. I wasn't that super adventurous kid. I really liked to know that they were there, they weren't far off. And every once in a while, I'd be, running down the aisles or turning corners, and I'd turn around and I would expect to see my mom or my dad standing there, and they wouldn't be there. And that's when in me the fear would kick in. That's when the anxiety would start, because that's when I started to feel lost. Like, when I can't find my mom or dad as a little kid, I'm scared. I'm feeling like a lost kid. And nobody likes to be lost. I mean, some people, not me, but some people have a true sense of adventure where they don't have to know where they're going, right? The journey is just part of the fun. But being lost is different than that. It's not about being adventurous or not, because still nobody likes to be lost. Because being lost is when you know you're supposed to be somewhere, or there's someone somewhere you want to be, and instead you find yourself someplace different, someplace unfamiliar. And in that moment, that someplace can feel a little scary. And so when this would happen to me as a kid, I would start to have that fear start to well up in me, and that anxiety, and it's to be like, what do I do? I guess I live in the store now. I got to figure out how to make shelter and make a fire. No, but every time without fail, not even a few minutes would go by, and I'd hear my name. I'd hear my name being called, as mom or dad were looking for me, and then I would be found. And you'd think I would learn the pattern that, like, every time I lose my parents in a store, eventually they're going to find me again. And that should make me feel better about being lost. But I never got over that. It never got easier to be that lost kid. That never changed the anxiety that came with that feeling of not knowing where mom or dad were. And I don't think that we ever really grow out of that feeling of anxiety. We get more comfortable in certain situations, but we still never like to feel lost. It's just that as grown-ups, being lost looks a little different than it did when we were kids, right? Because when we were kids, safety and security was maybe, where mom and dad were. But as adults, we feel lost when we start to feel like we're drifting away from whatever gives us that safety and security. And sometimes it's kind of in our own minds. We feel lost when we stop and we look at our lives, and sometimes we just get to a place where all we can do is sit and look at our circumstances and think, how did I get here? Or how did this happen to me? And a lot of time when we're facing those questions, we bring those questions to God. We'll pray to God and say, God, how did I get here? God, where do I go from here? God, what am I going to do? But very rarely does God ever actually answer those questions. See, God never lays that out and says, well, here's exactly how you got to this point in your life, or here's exactly how you ended up in this situation. Instead, God says this. And this is a verse from the Old Testament in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 34, verse 11. But this is God's answer anytime we're asking him, God, I feel lost. I feel like I'm stuck. I feel like I'm trapped. I feel like I don't know how to get out of here. This is what the sovereign Lord says. I myself will search for my sheep and look after them. Ezekiel 34, verse 11. This is what the sovereign Lord says. I myself will search for my sheep and I will look after them. In other words, God says it doesn't matter how you got here. What matters is that I'm coming for you. There's a song we sing in church that's based off Jesus' parable of the lost sheep, where he talks about a sheep that wanders away, and the shepherd leaves the entire flock to find the sheep. And the line says that when we're lost, God chases us down. When we're lost, God will fight until we are found. So if you're feeling lost today, my word of encouragement to you is to hang tight, because God is coming for you. God's coming for you. Or maybe you feel like you're right where you need to be today. You don't feel particularly lost today. In that case, I want you to keep your eyes open, because God may just use you to help lead the lost sheep home today. Love you.